LJ, welcome to the National Music Center. We're at the OHSOTO'KINO incubator program, and it's been an incredible series of workshops that you've been through, connecting with other artists. But we'd like you to if you can introduce yourself, maybe your name and your affiliation to the Indigenous community.
Yeah, so my name's LJ Tyson. I am from Treaty 6 territory, specifically around Prince Albert, but my band is the Big River First Nation. I'm really proud to be a part of the Big River First Nation, and just a major shout out to all of them out there. Yeah.
Well, we're thrilled you're here, and your music journey has been a really interesting one. I know identity is a key part of a lot of the music that you write and perform, and could you share with us about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I've just had the weirdest time navigating not only the music part of my life, but just life in general. Because I grew up dead center Saskatchewan, where unfortunately, and this probably is a lot of places, but in my blinders of Saskatchewan, it's individuality wasn't always celebrated, especially being a person of Cree descent, being a visible minority, and then eventually, coming out as a queer person, someone part of the 2S LGBTQI community, right? So I battled with that, and as I was figuring that out in my personal life, it started coming through in my music. And I used to do a lot of country music, and there was a lot of pushback, you know what I mean? So it caused me to push back a little bit more. But then I just decided, you know what, I'm going to embrace this as much as I can. So, I did all the things I could. I started, really embracing queer content in the stuff I was putting out to the world, and I started including it in my bio, and that's why I always say, and identity, matters so much to me, because I think we lack representation as much as amazing Indigenous and LGBTQ artists there are out there. The more the merrier, in my opinion,
When I first heard your music, I was really amazed by mixing those genres together, particularly with country music. I mean, that's something totally new. I've not heard that before. And I thought, this is something that doesn't come about without having a lot of thought, and also, putting on you got to be a brave person in a sense as well when you're dealing with maybe some of the pushback that could exist within the country community. How did you deal with that? Or did you face any pushback?
Yeah, I mean, I would go to gigs. I remember one time my mom came with me to a gig, and I was just had that energy when you get off stage and just really happy, and me and her were starting to walk out of the venue, and I was wearing a jacket with some Indigenous flair, I'll say it was. And these guys came up to me, and my mom, they're like, "Man, I wouldn't be wearing that around here if I was you." And I was my mom was laughed. She thought it was a joke. She's like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Oh, people will shoot you if you look like that." And they were dead serious. So I was just whoa, that's a little weird. And then eventually, even industry people would be like, "I don't know if you should totally commit to the celebrating a queer lifestyle in country music right off the bat. I think you should maybe save that for a few years down the line." Just things like that I'm sure they had great intentions. I'm sure they did in their head, but just for someone that's struggling with that, I hope that no one else has to face that kind of stuff. I hope an artist that wants to be country and they happen to be Indigenous and or part of the queer community, man, I hope it's different in 10 years. Because to be extremely honest, jumped ship as soon as I was ready to. I'm working on a pop record right now. And that's not to say I'm never going to go back and do country music again, because I'm from Saskatchewan, country music is in my roots, but I just really hope that it's easier for other young artists that choose to, that not even choose, that want to do that, Well,
and I just think it's unique that that you went down that avenue, and and so well. As like the lyrics that you write as well
Thank you.
were incredible lyrics, like making reference to one point in the song. One of the songs you reference a rainbow.
Yeah.
And I thought, so well done.
Yeah, that one is called Home on a Rainbow. I was just like, okay, if I'm gonna get this pushback and really fight this fight, like I'm gonna do it as cheesy as possible and make it as obvious as possible. So I took that old Home on the Range song, changed it to Home on a Rainbow. Sounds nothing like it, but then yeah, just told a story. And at first I thought I was telling my story with that song. But then like I realized, no, this is a lot of people's story. And it's not just exclusive to like artists. Like there's people that can't be who they want to be, or you know, that's not an option for them because their safety has to come first. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes hiding your identity in these more conservative spaces mm-hmm. is just a safety thing. You know, it's not about someone's just like shy and doesn't want to come out or anything like that or be who they want to be. It's literally comes down to just they can't walk down the street unless they close themselves off a little bit. Like it's ridiculous.
And some communities are difficult to live in.
Yeah.
If say you're a two-spirit person,
mm-hmm.
some communities are accepting, but others it can be a challenge.
Well, people have to remember like that part of our identity, because two-spirit people were always revered and celebrated traditionally. But you know, there's even a lot of older people that have no idea about that because it was stripped away from us. Like we have to relearn those things, and there's definitely some tribes and some communities that have fully embraced it, or they never did lose it. They always had that knowledge of two-spirit people. But I'm never upset or angry when someone doesn't have that knowledge, because I do understand like that was stripped away from our people. And so it's going to take a while for us to regain that. But I'm really confident that one day, along with a lot of other things, like we'll get all that back and we'll be a lot happier and healthier for it.
What was your process to accept the responsibility to carry those messages and those teachings and bring those forward?
I wasn't ready for it. I was like, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm just doing it. And then sure enough, people would either reach out for interviews or, you know, really want to, not intentionally, but kind of accidentally make me like a spokesperson for that, which I wasn't ready for. You know, I was just figuring myself out. So to have to kind of jump into that role, I struggled with it. And I think that was a big part of me just being like, all I can do is be me. You know what I mean? I'm not the smartest person on the planet to go and give people a bunch of facts and statistics and stuff like that. So all I can speak from is personal experience, honestly, you know.
And that personal experience you've had has taken you, you know, to be here for the incubator program. And what do you hope to gain here at the National Music Center that you're going to take away?
Oh, just more knowledge, more information, getting to meet the people that love doing what I love to do. Like that's so, everything I've done so far here, I've felt so much value in, and I'm going to take that with me everywhere I go, you know. I'm very lucky enough to have some music students back in Saskatchewan, and like I'm excited to share things like this with them, you know what I mean? And it's just all for the greater good, in my opinion. There's no downside, no negative to any of it. It's all valuable.
I like the fact that you're not only looking at yourself, you're taking that knowledge and sharing it with, I imagine, a younger generation.
Yeah, I had so many amazing mentors in my time. Like obviously my parents, they were musicians, and their friends mentored me, and I can think of industry people like Marty Ballantyne and Kenny Starr really helping me navigate the beginning stages of this craziness of it all, you know? And I just want to, I feel like my way of paying all those people back is by doing the same, you know what I mean? And it's not like I'm like trying to teach them necessarily. I just want to share my experiences, you know, and hopefully they can gain something from back. Because even by getting that exchange, I get something from that too, you know.
You mentioned like you got a little bit of pushback when you came out with the your take on country music and your influences. But what were maybe some of the better experiences that you had where you went, oh my gosh, this is really special what I'm doing, and it was worth it. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, the exchanges I have with people that listen to my music. That's always something. Like I said, I'm so strange and like an awkward space alien when I talk to people, I feel like. But when someone says this part, your song really moved me, or your song made me cry, or your song really made me stop and think, like that is worth so much more than any money, chart position, gig. Like that's just like the most special part for me. Like you could move someone with your words. That honestly, me, I'm just like, I put stuff out and I don't think too much about it. I'm not sitting there being like, what's gonna be the most poetic lyric? Like I just write it and put it out and hope people enjoy it, you know? So when they come back and tell me, hey, that really moved me, like that's it for me. I like that.
What's it like collaborating with other musicians and even producers when you're working on your music? Like, because it's going to be somewhat new for them.
Yeah, like I have such a pop sensibility in my melodies and in my lyrics. So when I wanted to make this like super Americana country song, I reached out to my buddy Forrest in the North Sound to come produce it. And because he's super Americana and like, you know, has that rustic country kind of feel. And bridging his world and my world created that sound. And I'm just like, man, I need to do this with like 100 other people just to see what we can kind of concoct here, you know what I mean? It's crazy cool. And I've done lots of co-writes, but to actually produce music with someone in the studio, like that's a pretty cool meeting of two worlds. I just really enjoy it.
You mentioned Marty Ballantyne from Prince Albert area. They have a talent show there. I don't know if they still have it. It used to be like a huge talent show in Saskatchewan.
Voices of the North.
Voices of the North.
Yeah,
I know
my parents run that.
Yeah, they put out a CD years ago with some of the contestants, I guess, for the show. That's played a major role in terms of being a hub, I guess, for people to come together. So I guess those gatherings were important to you as an artist?
Yeah, like my mom's been producing that show for well over 25 years now, and getting to be around all those artists all my life, like literally as a baby, like just growing up with those people, it's been the most influential thing in my entire life. Like Voices of the North, that's based in Prince Albert, started as just a way to another stage to showcase Indigenous talent, but now it's become like a staple of our northern Saskatchewan music scene. And to have alumni of that, like Marty Ballantyne, it's just, I'm really proud of it. I'm super proud to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form.
So where are you hoping that your music career goes? Because you started out with country, you're leaning towards pop, as you said, and what's the goal? More like thematically or musically? Where do you hope you'll be, say, in 10 years?
In 10 years, I'd like to... There's no way without sounding super cheesy and super vain about it. But I just want to be super successful in 10 years. I want to have a bunch of successful singles, successful albums, and I want to be able to help other people out, specifically Indigenous people and people from the queer community, because it's not easy. And any little opportunity that I get, I want to share that. And, you know, if the dice roll the right way and I get to bigger and better levels, I want to share the wealth, you know what I mean? We got a long way to go.
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. From the queer community, who's been an influence on you where you go, You know, like you want to emulate what they've done or they've inspired you. Is there some artists that come to mind?
No. Not specifically for what I do. There's so many queer artists out there that I enjoy. I'm a big fan, but I think I want to take just a little bit of a different lane. I think, like I said, representation is so important, and it's so important to show all the different sides of it. Mm-hmm. And so in terms of people I look up to in the queer community, the list is huge. There's so many amazing leaders. There's so many amazing people doing work in the communities. But when it comes to music, I don't think I've necessarily found someone I really look up to specifically because they're a queer person. I look up to people in my career, in my zone, because they're great artists, mm-hmm. not because of who they are as people, you know what I mean? But I definitely appreciate the representation. And I think that's, like I said, such a huge asset to our minority groups, and just to have any representation out there, you know? Mm-hmm. With that being said, I guess no is a pretty blanket statement. I appreciate everyone in different ways, but in terms of people I look up to, it's very much people I meet in real life. You know, I don't have one main like big pop star, rock star hero. It's just these people that I get to exchange real.
Well, and that's an example of how much more needs to be done.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and you know, looking at yourself, perhaps being in that role as well is pretty groundbreaking what you're doing.
Well, other people have done it, for sure, but the list is small.
From the Indigenous community in particular.
From the Indigenous community, I jokingly said to the person that does my bookings a little while ago, I said, I hope I'm always your only Indigenous queer client. He was like, you're the only one around. Like, who else am I going to book, you know? It's just, I wish there was more, and I hopefully one day there will be more. It's just like, I hope it never becomes like only one person can be in a spotlight kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
There's room for everybody.
There's room for everybody all the time, and you never have to go and undercut someone. You never have to speak badly about your competition. There's literally room for everyone. There's a stage for everyone. There's an audience for everyone. Sometimes it just takes a little longer to find that.
Have you experienced like examples where non-queer audience has been very positive towards you?
Yeah. So many amazing allies have been so supportive of my music. And they see the value in it and the value in bringing it to their venues, their communities. And honestly, I think a big chunk of my audience is allies, mm-hmm. rather than people from the 2S LGBTQIA community.
Because there's been challenges in the community where people feel alone, you know, where it leads to, you know, violence, addiction, leaving a community, never coming back.
Yeah.
So there's all those circumstances that arise, and you're offering ultimately hope. It seems like this is part of what you're doing.
I had so many friends that I grew up with that had to leave to larger city centers to feel like they were accepted and loved for who they were. And I think that's great. I'm glad they found that. I'm glad that they chose that path. I stuck around Saskatchewan, and like, it's a little bit tougher. It's a much smaller queer community centers there, but there's also a lot of work to be done. So we can move towards being more worldly accepting places like the coasts. Yes, and sure. It's just, so I've probably said this 10 times today, but like, we've got a long way to go. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not going to happen overnight. But like I said, also, like, hopefully in the next 10 years, we see as much change as we've seen in the past 10 years, you know.
We've talked a bit about some of the challenges, but there's also joy.
Yeah.
Can you share about that?
Yeah, of course. Every day I remember this gospel singer came up to me at a show with Yvonne St. Germain, and she said, the Creator just shared a message with me that's, and it was, I think it's for you. I know it's for you. And it's never lose your joy. And I've always carried that with me and kept that with me because I am so fortunate and lucky to get to do this. Anything in music, I always feel just like the luckiest guy in the world, you know? And that's something that I do have to remind myself. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this today. We'll find the joy in it. And there's joy everywhere. There's happiness everywhere. Like this music incubator, getting up early in the morning. Some people might not like that. I'm like, man, I'm lucky to get up in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, see the sunshine, get to visit with really cool people, and amazing accepting people. Like I came into this music incubator program really shy and kind of quiet. And then I started opening up as I got to know people because I realized I can be myself and these people aren't going to hate me for it. You know, even after being open and honest for how many years, I still reserve myself when I'm getting to know people because I don't know if they're like extremely homophobic, racist people, you know what I mean? So I close myself off and open up slowly. But obviously everyone here is very accepting and awesome. So that's my happiness here, is just getting to be myself and yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. You know, part of the incubator is like, you know, you make contact with people who help shape your career and your skill set. You were sharing you had a vocal lesson today that had some impact on you. Can you share about that?
Yeah, we got to work with an amazing vocal coach this morning, actually, and I'm such a nerd when it comes to voice stuff. Like anything I can learn that's going to help me with my voice, I just like listen intently. So yeah, this vocal coach had us like blowing bubbles in like water bottles and doing like different drills and just ones that I had never heard of before. And I'm super excited to implement that into my day-to-day life. And even when I'm back teaching my music students at home, like I'm excited to be like, yo, I learned these new ones so we don't have to do the same three I've been teaching you all year. You know, like, it's good.
It's great. You can you carry it forward. Wanted to ask you, LJ, about your music writing. What's your approach to writing music?
Super intuitive. I get super not to sound all like hippy dippy, but I feel like I'm like channeling something when I'm writing, because I'll just like I usually write on my guitar. Mm-hmm. The chords will usually come to me first, and then it's like the melody and words just come at the same time. And I always say if it comes out in 10 minutes, it's probably an okay song and I can work and mold it into something better. But if it's taken me like a few hours to do, I usually give up on that one. That's been my approach, because I feel like I'm forcing it at that point, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, just super intuitive writing, I guess.
What were signs where you knew that this was something you had a talent for?
I used to make stupid, silly songs when I was like little. And I don't know, it seemed very silly to me at that point. It was just like a little, I don't know, it was a cute kid thing, you know what I mean? I didn't think too much about it. Then I joined this like punk band in high school. And they're like, man, we should come up with some original music. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you're gonna write the lyrics. I'm like, I don't know how to do that. But then I tried it. And then I brought them back like 5 songs. And they're like, you did 5 songs overnight? I'm like, well, they're no good, but yeah, you know what I mean? And that's when I'm like, okay, maybe there's more to this writing thing than I thought there was. And sure enough, writing's my favorite thing. Honestly, when I can't no longer find the joy in going and touring anymore, I hope I get to just write music. I'd like for my career to get to the point 30 years down the line, where I can just write for other artists, because that sparks a different kind of energy for me, where it's like, it doesn't need to be me on stage singing the songs. Mm-hmm. I've heard people singing my songs on stage and got a different rush. That's sometimes even better. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To hear someone else portray your story, your lyrics through their voice, it's magical. It's awesome.
Nice. What's the experience of performing like for you?
Super fun. I don't take myself too seriously on stage. When I'm by myself with just a guitar, it's very storytelling. I like to tell the stories behind songs, and sometimes they're like not funny at all, but I'll like think they're super funny. So I don't know. And then when I'm with my band, we just try and have a good party on stage. But my little brother is the drummer in my band, and he often will just give me this look being like, "You're talking too long," or like he'd be like, "That was dumb," and I can just see him like giving me dirty looks. So I enjoy that dynamic of it, because he kind of reins me in when I know I'm kind of going off the deep end a little bit. But when I'm just with me and my guitar, I can talk as long as I want to.
Well, and that ties into our community, is just that storytelling aspect.
Yeah.
So that is so important. It's carried, through good times, bad times. There's those community stories, family stories that do that.
Well, and I don't do too well sitting in a classroom learning with someone on a chalkboard or through a textbook. You know what I mean? I've always learned best when I've been having a conversation with someone or through storytelling. I think it's a valuable tool that we can and never should lose, you know what I mean? And that's how a lot of Indigenous history has been carried forward throughout the years, is just through storytelling. So it's so valuable, and not to like go back and harp on the country music thing, but country music has such a not all of country music, but it's very limited to who can make it and who is successful at doing it. But imagine if we brought all these people from different walks of life into the beautiful storytelling of country music, and they got to put out that stuff. How beautiful would that be? Because some of the greatest songwriting is done through country music and folk music, And imagine if that world opened up to more people. It would be so incredible to hear those stories.
Well, when I heard your song last night, I thought exactly that.
Wow.
I thought, this is what country music is supposed to be about.
Nice.
And and it's part of an industry thing too, where it's like commercial country music shapes your mind to think this is what it is. Same with hip hop. A commercial industry has shaped our minds to what we think hip hop is sometimes. But if you go outside of those realms, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. No, I'm just sitting here regretting, like, oh, maybe I should have put out another country record.
But I mean, this is, as an artist, this is what life is like as an artist, and the fact that you're so open to trying new things, moving different ways, is great. You have not. I mean, you're at that point in your career where you're not locked in, and so there must be a sense of freedom to be at that point in your career, especially to be here for the incubator, to make those decisions to carry forward.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm sure the people that booked a country artist this past summer, and they got my like weird country pop rock hybrid, I'm sure they weren't too happy. Hopefully I won them over a little bit. But yeah, you're so right. Like, I'm not locked into anything. That's the beauty of being an independent artist and an up-and-comer. You know what I mean? You can shape and mold yourself to whatever you want to be. And I've been, my producer asked me too. He was like, so what are you going to do if this pop record flops? And I told him, well, I'm going to have a really good country record out the next year. So it's like, joking, but... No,
but it could be.
But it could be,
And the being here at the National Music Center, what's that been like for you, the experience of just being in the buildings, meeting all the people? What's it been like for you?
Oh, it's crazy. Like I'm walking through the hallways and seeing like the records on the wall and the pictures of, you know what I mean, all the artists. It's just like, it's that joy thing. It's feeling really extremely lucky to be here. And thank you for the invite, you know what I mean? Thank you to the committee and to the NMC, it's incredible to get to be here. And I realize I'm not taking enough pictures. I see some of the other artists are like posting every 5 minutes on social media, and I'm just like sitting here dazed at everything. Just like, this is cool.
Well, and we talked about the future, your next project a little bit, and your writing, and I guess bringing your music to a wider audience, to me, is so important for an artist, what you're saying in your songs. Because I'm thinking it's not even, it's not a provincial, it's not national. I think it's international that you should be reaching.
Wow.
Yeah. I guess you said your family has been giving you support. So is there examples of maybe of your family that are saying, LJ, you got to do this? Can you share any stories about that?
My parents were musicians, so I don't think they wanted me to necessarily be a musician. But when it started turning out that way, they've been so great. But what I appreciate about them is that they've always been really real with me. They were never the kind of parents to be like, oh, you are the best singer. You put out the best music. You know what I mean? They were always like, dude, there's competition out there. There's always going to be someone better than you. You don't ever have that attitude of you're going to walk in the place and be the best. Enter a competition, you're probably not going to win. Like they weren't harsh like that, but they really, they're northern Saskatchewan people. They're very real, down to earth, and that's something I've always appreciated about them, is they never lied to me or gave me this false sense of achievement, mm-hmm. And so no, they've been supporters, but silent supporters. Mm-hmm. And they never wanted me to rely on them too much, because they've done some things in music, and I don't know, I took my own path. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what they wanted. I don't think they wanted me to try and go through their contact books or any of that, you know what I mean? They just let me go off and do my own thing. And I made a lot of mistakes. I really did. Like, I look back at some of the things I tried to do or did do, and they're just like cringy, but I needed to do that, you know what I mean? So yeah, no, I'm grateful that I had my parents' support through all of that. Yeah, no, they're cool people. I hope that didn't come off like I was like saying they're like really grumpy people. They're not.
You want to know, in terms of that's very real, particularly in the Indigenous community. Definitely, it's like some people are, family members can be more real than real. So, yeah. So that's awesome. I just want to ask you a bit about your the songwriting process. Like, you talked about the lyrics a bit. I'm really surprised that you were in a punk band.
Yeah.
I did not know that you were in a punk band. That's crazy. So you've done punk, you've done country, you've looked at pop, and I think that's what's interesting about music is it's not so much about the genre some of the time. It's about what the messaging is, what the lyrics about, what's the heart of the song. And that's kind of where you're coming from. So when you have the growing list of influences, like you have to, because you're not just listening to the country, you must be listening to all different music to be able to shape all those different sounds. So what do you listen to?
Everything. I appreciate a great songwriter, and a great songwriter can write in any genre. Everyone's got their favorites, but I like Natalie Hemby, who has written for years and amazing hits, and she did The Star Is Born, the Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga. She did that soundtrack. She had a few songs, and I thought that was just the perfect blend of this like classic rock sound meets contemporary pop, meeting like country. You know, I'm just a huge fan of that soundtrack. I could talk about that soundtrack all day. I'm such a nerd about it. But it's just, for what I like to do, experimenting with genres, I think that soundtrack perfected that. So all the songwriters on that, specifically Natalie Hamby, who has been doing work with the High Women as well. She's part of the High Women with Bradley Carlisle. And I just, I'm a big fan. Female writers, I really gravitate towards them. Not that dudes who write aren't great and amazing, but the way a female can express their emotions and that the feminine aspect to it, I'm a big fan of that.
And so when you hear that, it has an influence on you, and then so you let it stew for a while, it seems, then before you're writing. Or is it like, is it personal or is it outwardly, where you hear a friend's story maybe and then you go, oh, I'll write a song about that, or this happened to me, and I'm going to write a song about it?
I've always got my guitar nearby, and sometimes I just pick it up to jam a tune I just heard, and then sometimes the song just pops out. I remember one of the, this is such a bad story, or a cheesy story, I guess, but I was like 18 and was going through my first breakup, and I was just like completely upside down, heartbroken, which I look back now and I'm just like, you're gonna be more heartbroken in the future. Don't get too upset. But no, this is so cheesy. I like turned on my little pocket-sized Canon camera because I wanted to record a really sad cover and post it to Facebook so that the person who broke up with me could see it and see how heartbroken I was. And I turned on the camera and I hit the wrong chord and I started plucking the strings, and then this song just came to me while I was recording. So I like turned the camera off and listened back. I'm like, oh, an original song that I can post on Facebook and break someone's heart with. No, but that's just like, that's how it happens for me. You know, I can't just decide to write something about something. It just happens naturally. And it does come from like talking to people, hearing stories, watching a movie, my own life. It just amalgamates to one space and then comes to the paper or voice note, whatever, you know.
Nice. Well, and it's, and that's how you grow as an artist. You have those experiences, and then, you know, you don't run away from them. You actually went towards it. Well, that takes some courage and strength to go, I'm gonna show this to this person in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
probably shouldn't.
Yeah, but I mean, it's continued. I can see that being part of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So. And lastly, just I guess being here in for the incubator, OHSOTO'KINO, is what are you hoping to leave with after you're done here? In terms of career-wise.
In terms of career-wise,
yeah.
I don't know, the most general answers. So there's so much I want to learn. There's so much I want to do, but just to sum it all up, that second wind that I think I really need now, going into a new genre and kind of having to start over in a sense. I need that that inspiration, and I'm getting that inspiration from meeting people like yourself, the other mentors, the other artists here. I'm like, all I want to do right now is go home and work. Like, that's what I really, you know what I mean? And that's what I needed. I'm really grateful for that.
Okay. Well, LJ, thank you so much for sharing. Appreciate your honesty and your openness to share with us. And it's an important what you're doing, making music.
Thank you.
Jimmy Gwetch.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Yep. Yep.